when I come to Indonesia, I feel love for my religion. I see beautiful Muslims, but I also see beautiful tolerance. I see beautiful churches. I see a togetherness. I see a respect. And for me, that makes me proud as a Muslim, but as a human. Yeah, and you say like the watch seller, he taught me mudah-mudahan berkah. And I kept saying, what is a mudah-mudahan berkah? And when you understand and then you translate sometimes, you always see such kind, warm messages. And like, I'm always grateful.
Assalamualaikum, my brother.
Walaikum salam. Thank you for having me.
Oh my God. I saw your content. I saw your video and I cannot believe that you are here. Welcome to my studio, Waseem.
My pleasure. Thank you. My privilege, my pleasure. Thank you so much.
First of all, this boy, this man right here are flying from all the way from London to watch our national team beat Philippines 2-0.
Yes, Philippines.
Thank you so much. Okay. Can you tell me how is it? How is it in the GBK, you know, the atmosphere? And I heard that you get along with all the supporter of a timnas called Ultras, right?
Yeah.
They are a very dedicated,
very passionate,
supporter. Tell me about it, Waseem.
You know, like people say to me, like, Waseem, why do you fly all the way to Indonesia for a football game?
Yeah.
Okay. But everything is about perspective. So a timnas game is an experience.
Okay.
Think of it like a party, a football match, a togetherness. And I use this word that the one way to describe a timnas match is family. And you go inside the stadium, everyone is there. Like when they do the national anthem, everyone sings, yo, ayo, everyone stands up.
Yeah.
And you really feel the energy and the family. So the players on the pitch are incredible, but the supporters in the stands blows my mind because the energy they bring is fantastic. And, you know, any excuse for me to come to Indonesia, I'll always come. You know, Indonesia for me feels like home.
Oh, why? I will ask about that later.
Yeah.
Well, okay. At the GBK, is it hot?
Very hot. Very, very hot. The game against Vietnam, it was during Ramadan.
Yes.
So I'd broken my fast, puasa.
Iya, puasa.
Selamat berbuka puasa.
Betul.
Yeah. And then I went to the stadium and it was extremely hot. And it's body heat. I'm not sure about the ventilation, but it's very hot. But it's part of the experience. You know, like if you say to someone, I'm overheating on the street, it's like, I want to go home. I need the AC. But in GBK, with the fans, there's something that you kind of enjoy. It's part of the experience, right?
Yeah. I'm going to try it one day.
You need to.
Okay.
You need to.
What do you think about our national team right now? I mean, you are coming from a country that football is like blood. It's in their blood, right? So, what do you think about now you have a lot of naturalization.
Yeah.
Our half-blood player. What do you think about that, Waseem?
You know, I think just to touch on like the English football fanatic. So when I was growing up, I used to say, Mum, please can we go to the football stadium? Can we watch? And she used to say no. Because like, especially in like the 90s, in the late 90s, there was a lot of like hooligan culture.
Oh, okay.
So my mom used to be like, it's too dangerous, you know? This is not for us. So when I became older, I was like, okay, now I can go. I'm a grown up. I'm a man. I can enjoy it. So when I went to Indonesia and I see children, I see families, I'm like, where was this in my country when I needed it? So I have a different perspective and appreciation for that togetherness. And on the pitch, like, because I saw timnas in the Asian Cup. So I've seen the transition now. You know, there's many players from the Netherlands and there are new players coming all the time, but they have the passion for the jersey. And everything is a process, you know, and I think to raise the standard of the timnas team, you need influence. You know, the coach is fantastic from Korea. And I think if you think maybe 10, 15 years, this is the transition that we need to get timnas producing even better players locally in Indonesia. But the players that are coming, you see after the game, they're fighting for the shirt, you know? And even like me, people say like, are you Indonesian? Like, why do you care about our team? But for me, like the culture and the people, I'm so invested because even when I was in the Asian Cup in Qatar, there's a strong Indonesian community.
Yeah.
I've never felt more love from people in a stadium. Like I have like 100 uncles and aunties that are checking up on me and stuff. And I think like home and that real feeling of comfort, your heart decides that for you.
Yes.
You know, and every time I arrive in Indonesia, the feeling's always there. And if I travel to Aceh or to Jogja, there's always someone that says, come to my home. Let me feed you. You can't leave. Here's some more nasi. Eat more. And that for me is such a beautiful feeling. And especially in England and in Europe and across the world, I think people are becoming more selfish. Everything becomes more about you. And when I come to Indonesia, I feel like it breaks that and the family is alive, you know. I was at Istiqlal for Ramadan.
Yeah.
Again, families, togetherness.
I know, you're talking with all the people who sell the wine.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, we are a friendly country maybe.
Yeah, and you say like the watch seller, he taught me mudah-mudahan berkah. And I kept saying, what is a mudah-mudahan berkah? And when you understand and then you translate sometimes, you always see such kind, warm messages. And like, I'm always grateful. You know, I think it's so important to appreciate every person, the watch seller. You know, I've met some people in government, football players. Like, respect and love is the same value no matter where you get it from. And it's one thing that when I come to Indonesia, I always feel so grateful, you know?
So,
tell me.
This is what I confuse.
Yeah.
What do you do before all of this? I mean, before you came here and then it's like you are like a part of Indonesian people right now, especially the one who saw your YouTube, the one who's love football because you're always there and support us. I mean, what do you do actually back to your hometown?
Okay, so I'm like most people. I've studied, I've graduated, I work in marketing back in London.
Okay.
And before the pandemic, or just after it started, I was like, is this my life? Like I'm in a lockdown. Yeah. You know, my job is working from home. I live alone. So I was like, is this life? Like, have I worked this hard? It didn't feel fulfilling, right? Yeah. So I said, okay, let me just start a YouTube channel during the pandemic. Okay. And I started doing like reaction videos in my home because I couldn't leave. And then one person said, because I wasn't reacting, I didn't even know about Indonesia. Okay. I had very limited knowledge. Someone said, there's somebody called Alfie Rev, Wonderland Indonesia. Please, can you react? And maybe for like a week, I was like, what's that? I don't know Indonesia. I don't know Alfie Rev. I watched the video and my mind was blown. I feel like everything that I had known was a lie. And, you know, seeing the passion behind the message of Wonderland Indonesia, but the creative skill. If you watch an Alfie Rev production, Hollywood can't compete. You know, this guy is top level, and also he was so humble. So I had to like rewind my mind, and I was like, Indonesia's producing talent and skill this high? So in the video I said, guys, if I ever go to Bali or Indonesia, I will meet with Alfie Rev and I'll give him my utmost respect.
You met him.
And then I met him and I gave him my utmost respect. And the netizens, for me, are some of the most motivational. And I'll be honest, maybe if I didn't react to the Indonesian content, I don't think I would do YouTube. Yeah. And it's the positive words, you know, some people, it's just a comment. When I was starting my YouTube channel, and I was like, I don't feel like it anymore. The hype is over. Yeah, yeah. It's like, Waseem, where are you? And this is like during the pandemic. Waseem, I need more content from you. Waseem, when are you coming? And it was increasing slowly and slowly. And I was like, people actually like this. The people are very kind. Why not? And then when I came to Indonesia, again, I was like a new vlogger. I felt awkward. You know, when people start vlogging, it's like, I got a camera.
Yeah, I know.
Are you watching me? Like, am I doing the right thing? There's no blueprint. Yeah. And then my video in Istiqlal, it went viral, like 1 million views. And I was like, one water place, because when I was in Istiqlal, I was making dua like, Ya Allah, give me guidance. Should I carry on with this? That same video, 1 million views. And I'm just there like, okay, the sign is there.
Yeah.
And I think it's about people. You know, the journey from London to Indonesia is long. The flights are expensive. People think if you do content, you're a millionaire. The flights are not covered by the views and the ad revenue, right? And there's no sponsorship. So it's a loss. And I'm not a millionaire. I don't come from like a rich family. I work hard and I try to find a balance between some saving and also doing things that fulfill me, you know? And as a Muslim, but also someone who believes in humanity, you know? When I come to Indonesia, I feel love for my religion. I see beautiful Muslims, but I also see beautiful tolerance. I see beautiful churches. I see a togetherness. I see a respect. And for me, that makes me proud as a Muslim, but as a human.
Yes.
And that's why I keep coming back to Indonesia. And that's why I'm so invested, because before the pandemic, and for many bule, many people in Europe, oh, you're going to Indonesia. How's Bali? Oh, Bali. Indonesia is just Bali, right? What else is there to do? They don't know that it starts from Aceh to Papua. And there's villages and there's kindness and there's warmth. So now I need to make sure that the mission is, let me share this. Let me go back. Now that I've seen the secret, let me go back and let me connect.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's the motivation and that's the mission right now.
Thank you so much, Waseem. I don't know that it's that deep, the message, because you came here with your own money. I know it's not a cheap flight, and to meet 1 or 2 friends, make a content, make your subscriber happy, to make some a good video for them. I really appreciate that.
Terima kasih, my pleasure. I'm more grateful to you, to your country, you know, because you don't have to welcome somebody. And even sometimes people write comments. This guy, he knows how to get views. He knows how to use the netizens. But for every 1 comment, there will be 50. Shut up. Do something yourself. This is guy, like, he's been following us for a long time. And I think, especially now in the world, people don't look for intention. They just see the act of what you're doing. It's like, you're doing this, it must mean this. But especially in the world now, there's so much division. We're seeing with like the conflict, what's happening. And for me, it's so important to be like, okay, if you want to keep dividing us, and if you say Islam is bad, oh my God, terrorism, and all the things that get all the attention, that's 0.01% of the population. Indonesia has 220 million Muslims. Let's look there. That's the same religion. You know, there's kindness there, there's love, there's family. And especially like when I go to Istiqlal, there's more women than men. You know, and I see that and I'm like, why does no one talk about this? But also with the tolerance, all the time, we're always reminded how different we are. Oh no, we can't get along, we can't do this. And it's like, okay, there's the blueprint, stop lying. You know?
Yeah, of course. And you know that in front of Istiqlal is the cathedral, right? Who made the architect is a Christian. So yeah, that's actually what I'm really proud of my country. I mean,
you should be.
I know. So you are a Muslim since baby, and your family is a Muslim.
Okay, complicated.
Complicated. Okay.
So I've always been a Muslim in name, but if I'm being so honest, no one taught me the religion. I didn't have religious parents. And some years ago, I moved to Dubai. I lived in the UAE for 1 year. And people kept saying, Waseem, you're Muslim. I'm like, yeah. They're like, we don't see you at the mosque. You know? So
you're just Muslim by name.
When do you pray, bro? And then I was like, guys, I don't know how to pray. But they're like, but you're Muslim. I'm like, yes, my name's Waseem and I believe in Islam, but my knowledge is so limited. And these friends were from all around the world, you know, Libya, Sudan. And every time food would come, they would cut it in half. And I used to be like, for me? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, why are you so nice? And in my head, I'm searching like, what do you want from me? Like, what's the meaning behind the kindness? And they used to say, bro, this is Islam. Sharing is Islam, you know. Smiling is charity. This is Islam. And I was like, this is what I've always felt. But if you haven't grown up in an environment, and sometimes people mix culture and religion,
okay,
you know, in like when you look at, there's so many countries that are Muslim.
Yeah.
Indonesia predominantly Muslim.
Yes.
You look at other countries where culture dominates. It doesn't look like Indonesia.
Yeah.
So when I kind of went through this process, and these are people that had been in war, you know, like Libya gone through a war.
Yeah.
So I had friends, they're like, bro, you know, when I used to go on MySpace, the rocket came through the window. And I'm like, rocket? In your window? In your house? They're like, yeah, like, bro, it's war. And I'm like, how do you survive that? And, you know, it's like, bro, you have faith. And I'm like, right. And then even now we look in Palestine, some of the craziest things, our brains can't even understand some of the things that we're seeing.
Yes.
They have faith. And I look at, like, if you said to a kid in another part of the world, there's a strong chance you don't wake up tomorrow.
I know. Yeah.
They're not going to sleep. But the children in Palestine, the level of iman and faith they have, I'm jealous. You know, when you see someone that has that level of spiritual strength,
Yes.
and it's similar in Aceh. You know, I didn't, when the tsunami happened in Aceh, I thought, okay, maybe it's like a big flood. You know, how would I survive? I would hold on to a tree. I tried to like have an idea of what it would be like. When you go to Aceh and you see the stories and you see the damage, the human brain can't understand.
Yes.
When you see houses that got moved and put on top of other houses, it's like, how bad was this, you know? And when you start to hear the height of the waves, and, you know, Aceh's population is 300,000. During that period, 100,000 died. So that's 1/3 of the population. And when you go there, I'm like, how did you recover? Because not only is it the physical damage, everyone lost somebody that they care about. Every family was impacted. But when you go to Aceh and the azan goes off, everyone goes to the mosque. And their level of faith, and somebody told me, they said, when the tsunami happened again, we all felt like we became Muslim again. And, you know, it's like they have a beautiful mosque, Betul Rahman.
Yes.
The tsunami, it took everything out and it left Betul Rahman. And if anyone's ever lucky enough to go to Aceh and that space, Betul Rahman is, words can't describe the feeling, the peace. And again, when I left Aceh, I'm like, I need this feeling, you know, like this level of iman, like this level of awareness. Because naturally, all of us, we're trying to create content, we're trying to hustle, we're trying to better our family, we're trying to grow and develop, that we become so hyper-focused on the mission, you know? And that's amazing. Let's be ambitious, let's have drive, but let's also have self-awareness, you know? And they say after 2.5 generations, you're forgotten. So like, I don't know who my great-great-grandparents are or were. Like, I have limited information. In 2.5 generations, that will be me and you. And now we have the internet, our story is documented, but there will be another version of us, an extension of us and our genetics. So I'm so mindful of keeping aware of purpose. And I think also with content now, I always try to have like an undertone. So yes, the content is about timnas. I love the team. I love the passion, but I love the message. And the message is, we don't discriminate in the stadium, you know. I saw babies, like 1 or 2 years old, they're there, families. And I think that's the strongest message.
True.
And sometimes, honestly, I think in other parts of the world, it's lost, you know. That self-obsession, it's the me show. What should I do? What about me? This is why I'm the best. And you get lost in your own noise. And for me, Islam turns down my own noise and it gives me a reminder of the bigger picture. So, alhamdulillah, like I'm so grateful.
So
thank you.
I mean, I think in the middle of your life somewhere, you are looking for something who feel your, I don't know, your heart or your soul. And alhamdulillah, maybe becoming an Islam, you found finally the meaning of the Islam itself. And then you came here to Indonesia, you find like the
sense of like
the
identity.
sense of identity of what is Islam in real life.
Yeah.
And then you live in it like that.
Yeah.
And
it's very accurate.
Yeah. So it makes you feel like content.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And you have to remember, like, for me growing up, only time I heard about Islam was terrorism. 9/11, ISIS. Yeah. So it's so hard to be like, I'm a Muslim, but whenever that is in the public space, it's being drowned by negativity. And like, you know, in Islam, if you kill one human being, you kill the whole of mankind. It's the same, you know. And when you look at the essence of Islam, and also like, for instance, in war, there's rules for war in Islam. You can't cut a tree. Yeah, true. You know, you have to feed your prisoners. There's
no women.
Exactly. You can't kill women and children. And the more and more I understand the beauty of Islam, and then I reflected on what I'd heard, I was like, this is not the same. And unfortunately, there's a lot of power dynamics, geopolitics, and anything needs tools, you know, to divide people, create fear. Like when I went to Aceh, they were like, was you scared? I was like, of what? They were like, you know, many people make videos and say, Sharia law, Aceh, Aceh. I say, whenever I go to any place, whatever your culture is, I will respect it. It's not my home. If you come to my house, I will tell you, take your shoes off. And wherever I go, I have the same mindset. But as a Muslim, but I don't want to limit just to Islam, because Islam is about tolerance.
Yes.
But, you know, Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you. Those words, just peace be upon you. When I go to Aceh or I go anywhere, I find whenever I give respect and I'm sincere, it always comes back. And any big city has its challenges, you know. Someone might take your phone out of your pocket in London, you know. In
Italy, maybe.
Yeah, Italy, very good example. Like, it happens across the world.
Yeah.
But I think the essence and the authenticity of, especially in my experience, Indonesian people is so sincere. Like I mentioned Qatar, there's like some aunties, I won't upload. Waseem, why didn't you upload? How is your life? How is your health? What do you need? Can I help you? It's not about content. It's not about views. It's not about relationship status. It's sincere. And for me, like you said, I find a lot of sincerity in Indonesia. And I think on a global scale, it's missing. You know, everyone's searching for something. Like, how can I benefit from this and do this and do this? And for me now, I just try to strip it back. Let's be good humans. Let's respect each other. And what's written will happen.
Do you know why they are so care about you? Because that you are sincere too. When you make a video that, I saw a lot of, you know, bule video, but there is something that I don't get from others, all right? So in your video, you just want to be real. You just want to be, you want to talk with us humbly. And I can feel the message that you are talking right now.
Thank you. Yeah.
So you're living in let's say that Europe.
Yeah.
What is the most different from Europe and Indonesia?
I think the sense of family doesn't exist in the same way. People, you'll find they're getting married later, they're getting divorced quicker. And I think when we look at the times now, even with content, it's like next.
Yeah.
On the feed, next. And people are taking that mindset and that short attention span into relationships, into their dreams. So I'm having a problem with my partner, next. What else is out there? You know, there's 100 dating apps. There's different ways to try and I think slowly that's ruining community and it's ruining family. And it's one thing to have self-awareness, to be like, are you happy? Are you content? Without then being completely self-orientated. Like, and I had this conversation with my mum and she said, you know, son, do what makes you happy. And I said, Mum, it's not good advice. She said, but my mum told me it's good, like, do what makes you happy. I said, like, humans, we're emotional. Like, we're emotional beings in general. And what makes me happy today might not be right for me in 6 months, you know? Or like, today I didn't have my copy, so I didn't sleep as much, I'm grumpy. What makes me happy today isn't gonna make me happy in 3 weeks. So it's about almost resetting and having shared objectives, you know, like in a relationship, in your family. And for me, I'm blessed. I have an amazing grandmother. And when the azan goes off, she has a really bad back.
Okay.
It is impossible to keep her from missing her prayer. And she serves her family and she loves everyone. She cooks for you. She had children from a really early age, but she's dedicated her life to family. Oh. And I think when I see her, I'm like, these are the shared values, you know, that I think still exist in Indonesia.
Yeah.
And in spaces in Europe, they still exist, but I haven't grown up in that space. So especially when I come to Indonesia, it almost is like, I want that. That's what I was looking for, you know? Yeah. Similar with Islam, when people are sharing, I'm like, that's what I do, you know? And I connect the dots. So even though I'm bule, I don't like the distance, because West and East, this continent, that continent, humanity is a shared principle. You know, you're my sister, whether you have an Indonesian passport or a British passport. Yes. And I try to have like a global identity. Mm-hmm. You know, maybe when I was younger, I'll be like, England. And I'm very, very proud to be from London. Like, London is a magical city. There's every culture.
It's like a melting pot.
A melting pot. And there's a lot of respect, you know, for different ethnicities, different stories.
Yes.
And I'm so proud to be a product of that. And I think because of my upbringing in London, it's allowed me to have really good global awareness, because I've already experienced bits of everything. So now I'm more open to go in other places and having good self-awareness.
Yeah. It's very sad about what happened to our world today, the war. I mean, it's sad because every day I saw a lot of video that breaks my heart.
Yeah.
And I cannot imagine how people can stand something like that. No matter what about it, it's about religion, it's about politics, it's about everything. But all the kids there are, I don't know, I don't have words.
Yeah, no, and I completely echo your sentiment. And I think if we needed a situation to expose the mindset of double standards, and as much as we feel passion and emotion and we protest, I've gone to Palestinian protests in Jakarta, in London. There's so much hate and there's so much lack of humanity. And, you know, when we look at Palestine, for instance, I have some friends, they play for the Palestinian national team.
Yeah.
And before they're playing in the Asian Cup, there are people in the team, their family members are dying, they're getting the call, then they're playing football. And, you know, one thing that, one message that I think is really, really important is people get attached to certain aspects of identity. So, like passport, like, you know, let's say you have a British Pakistani, and then you have like someone who was born in Pakistan.
Yeah.
Genetically, they're the same. What separates them is the book, right? It's the passport. And no one asked for their passport. We wasn't inside the womb with our iPad, come out, British passport, UK.
You cannot choose, right?
So you can't take the credit for it, you know? And you can't allow your circumstances to define you. But I think for a long time, people are obsessed with hierarchy. Mm-hmm. So, you know, you see it sometimes in parts of Indonesia. Like, I get it, tourism, you need to cater to tourists, it's the industry. But you're missing out on so much beauty. You know, like I went to an island, a very bule-based island in Indonesia. Like, hello, mate. And I'm like, guys, I'm in Indonesia. Like, I've been learning, you know, apa kabar? Like, I want to speak to you. And it's like, you know, pizza. You want pizza and burger? And I'm like, where's nasi goreng? Like, I need to like, I'm in your country, you know? And I think, especially from like a Western perspective, the narrative has to shift of like entitlement, you know? We've arrived now. Do you speak English?
Yeah.
People come to our country, they learn English. You know, people come to our country and they adjust. and they respect customs. Just because English is the most well-spoken language, it doesn't mean that it removes you from the right to go somewhere and learn and adjust and respect, you know. Indonesian culture is as powerful, as rich, maybe even more than American culture, than Western culture, than British culture. And this whole power dynamic, obviously it's linked to history and colonialism and this dynamic. But from my experience, the talent in Indonesia is as high as anywhere in the world. Alfie Rev can compete with anyone in Hollywood. I have some young Indonesian friends. They know 3-4 languages. They're creating content. They have perfumes. They have travel agencies. These are like 17, 18-year-olds on their way to university, side hustle, got to be a businessman. That level of dedication, intelligence, ambition is gold level. You don't have to look to America to validate. Like, oh, America said we're doing a good job. No. We'll look at America and we'll tell America, you need to catch up. Or you need to come up to our level. And it's one thing for me that I don't like, you know, especially like people are always trying to find a way to separate. Oh, they're not like us, you know. We went to international school, or, you know, that's the one from the village, or whatever it is. The people in the village are mentally richer than you in many ways, you know, and spiritual awareness, like, maybe like when I went to Aceh, I felt like the poorest man there, because I was like, the level of iman you have, that's what I want. And I will trade any materialistic possession to get to that space. So especially with content, it's so important for me to rip up the book that people have been reading, you know, like, yeah, this is, you know, and even like bule, it's like, yeah, the bule likes this. And I love the netizens now. They can read the room very well. So when someone comes, oh my God, Jakarta, I didn't realize you have a skyscraper. It's like, okay, we've seen this 100 times. What else are you giving us? So, yeah. Yeah,
true. Oh, I don't expect to be this deep.
No, sorry. You know,
it's good. Yeah? It's good. I mean, now I know that you are a very mindful person. Yeah. So what is the most important thing in your life?
Oh, great question. Wow. I'll say my faith. Wow. Yeah. And I'm on a journey, you know, like I think I'm very aware of where I'm at and where I need to go to. And that for me it grounds me, it humbles me, but it teaches me a lot, you know, like there's so many times when things happen that I'm like, why did this happen to me? I didn't deserve this. I've been working hard. Where's this, and this? And in 5 years, you're like, oh yeah, that made sense, you know, that led me to this direction. And we have to accept, as much as we're intelligent and we have awareness, our knowledge is still limited.
Yes.
We're a product of what we've seen, what we've known. We haven't experienced the world. We don't have unlimited knowledge. We're not completely self-aware to that level. And I think there's humility in that. And religion, it humbles me. And like Ramadan, it reminds me. And even, you know, they were sleeping in the masjid for the last 10 nights. And I was like, guys, I've done my 5 prayers. Like, I want to go home. And it's like, Waseem, but we're going to sleep. Istiqlal, are you coming? And I'm like, you sleep there? Like, because it's not something that I've seen growing up.
Really?
Yeah.
Many people sleep in the mosque.
And I think it's because in the UK, a lot of the mosques are really small. And some of them also don't have like 24-hour licenses in some places. But when I see that, I'm like, okay, I need to up the game, you know? And especially after Ramadan, after fasting, traveling, and humbling yourself, it reminds me of purpose, you know? And none of us know, like we can make plans for 5 years or 10 years. And my imam always says to me, like, if you make it to Ramadan, you're one of the lucky ones. Because we can make plans for next Ramadan, but we don't 100% know if we're going to get there, you know? We can talk about the timnas game in September. If you make it there, it's a blessing.
Yes.
And it's reminding yourself to, okay, life is fast. We have ambitions. We want to keep going. Pause it for 1 second. Just be grateful. You know, like when we talk about Palestine, I suffer massively, like, and it really bothers me that I have a life, you know, like I was able to get on a plane, go to Qatar, watch the Palestinian national team, and all that's racing through my mind is the people of Palestine can't even support their team. Or like, even when I went to the timnas game, there's over 270 million Indonesian people. I'm one of 75,000 to go to the stadium. It's a privilege, you know? And especially now when I make my content, it's like, I want to make sure for anyone that doesn't get the opportunity to go to the game, that I'm able to capture it as best as possible and be like, guys, I had the ticket, but I brought it back for you, you know? And recognizing privilege and gratitude, it's Islam, but also it's a true principle of humanity, you know? Like, alhamdulillah. And that for me, Islam is the most beautiful thing, but also it gives us purpose.
All the Muslim will always be, what I love is they always, even I'm not a Muslim, but they're always humble, and we call it in Bahasa Indonesia is ikhlas, surrender. They always accept what they are without like really wanting more and more. They have the willing to accept this life, because this is all are designed by Allah, right? And this is the last question, and it's an important thing. You are living in London, and this modern world, people are living religion right now. A lot of people are living religion. It's like a modern world. The young people, sometimes they are not really care about their faith anymore. So what can you say about Islam will be still side by side with the modern world?
Great question. Great
I know
question.
it's hard, but we needed the question.
Yeah, I think no matter what age you are, you'll reach a point where it needs to make sense. You know, our story never started with us. We're an extension of our generations, and we're sitting here today. I think Islam, for instance, like I have friends, they were like, Waseem, we want to do 1 week of Ramadan with you. Like, we want to see what you're going through. They're not Muslim. And then after the week, they're like, bro, this is the most peace I've ever found. More than if they've done drugs, if they've drunk. They're like, the peace I get from 1 week of like fasting and trying to pray, it fulfills the soul. And I think Islam is so personal, right? And the whole hierarchy of judging people on who's a good Muslim, who's a bad Muslim, the reality is none of us know, because we're not judging each other, right?
True.
And if you're a Muslim, on the Day of Judgment, you will decide. And I think the spiritual aspect of opening your heart is universal and timeless. And the reality is none of us can explain how we got here and how we'll leave, you know? And when you put it into perspective, if you're the new generation, one day you will search for the answer and you'll be like, okay, I can't really explain this. And, you know, science doesn't quite explain this. And I think my one bit of advice is, if you reflect on yourself, maybe 5 years ago, your mindset was completely different. In another 5 years, your mindset will be different again. So no matter how much you keep growing, you're always going to be in a state of learning.
Yes.
And what Islam does is it gives you purpose to that learning. And it gives you a foundation, it gives you values and principles. And I don't think like we even need to sell it to the generation that's coming up. I think it's human instinct. And this is where I think also like, you know, I have so many moments where like, I'm sure other Muslims can relate. Like a week after Ramadan, the body feels at an all-time high. The clarity of your thoughts are HD, 4K.
Wow.
And your body feels like reborn, right?
Because we are detoxing.
Exactly. And I think people that go through that experience, or they see the principles of Islam, it will always resonate with humankind. And I would say to the younger generation in particular, remember that your brain keeps changing. So put weight on your thoughts, but nothing is factual forever. You know, when I was 10, I loved watching cartoons and staying in my pajamas and eating cereal. It was like 5 years later, you go through a different stage, 5 years later. And I think when you accept that you're always changing, you can't put 100% weight on yourself. And the world is beautiful, you know. They can't replicate the heart with all of the money, technology, AI.
Yes.
They can't create a heart in the lab, you know. They can't replace your eye for a 4K, 8K, you know. There's certain miracles that exist that we'll never be able to explain or replicate. So the advice would be, ask yourself the questions. And again, don't feel pressure. You know, we can't judge, you know, we can guide, we can see something. You know, in Islam, I think it's change it with your hand, your mouth, and then your heart. So if you can't do those things, even if, let's say, someone is going down the wrong path or they don't believe in anything, pray for them. You know, my mom says it all the time. People, they scream, free Palestine. But the biggest form of change is prayer. So free yourself and pray, you know, and the power of prayer. If you're someone who doesn't pray, try. Like, for me, there's nothing more important. You know, you can take 20 steps away from Allah, but take one step back.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful. And, you know, Allah's always, or any religion in that case, right? However you communicate with your creator, it's always there. And it's the saying, you know, like, there's a friend or there's someone that will always pick up your call.
True.
You know, and whether you get on your mat or you go to the church, always pick up that phone, because if we want to do it alone, there's some answers we'll never have. Yeah.
Wow. This is a very religious talk that
sorry.
blown our mind. I mean, it's so beautiful, Waseem.
Thank you.
Good luck for your journey, your spiritual journey.
Thank you.
Your life journey and everything. And thank you so much for your sincerity.
Thank you.
I hope that you reach 1 million subscribers soon.
Inshallah, inshallah. And I just want to say thank you so much for inviting me. You know, you give up your time, your team give up their time to come here and do this. And your time is as valuable as anyone else's. And also it's so amazing that you're playing your part in bridging the gap. You know, I saw your fantastic interview with Christian Hansen, also another fantastic storyteller. But you asking these questions, it gives access.
Yeah.
And because in my vlog, I can't express myself to this level, you know, so you give me a platform. Yeah. So I'm really, really grateful. So terima kasih, and I hope you get 1 million subscribers.
You too. And this one is very good because you are, for me, is a definition of one good Muslim. Thank you so much.
I'm trying. Thank you so much. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih.